Hi everyone, welcome to the fresh episode of AI Maker Unpacked Series. This is brought to you by 3AI. AI Makers Unpacked Series is a series and it's first of its kind where professional leaders across AI analytics, data science unravel their professional journey, what I call trials and tribulation, crest and trough, and also talk about what's happening, the latest and greatest and very topical and contemporary in the field of analytics AI. So far, we have covered almost about 15, 20 leaders, and the whole idea about this series is to actually elicit a professional profiling of the journeys of the leaders, and that's what it makes very bespoke, very differentiated, and absolutely, I would say, individual. And for today's episode for AI Makers Unpacked series, we've got Manish Mittal. Manish is Associate Principal Technology at eClerx, and he's been working with eClerx for almost now 10 years. And in his previous stints, he has worked with companies like G Money, HCL, Emphasis, and Infosys. And Manish is something which I would say will talk much more about what I say, what's happening in the field of analytics, AI, technology overall. And what I say technology, it means exponential technologies. But before we delve into those dimensions, let me start that aspect, Manish. You've spent a lot of years in the industries. More importantly, your entry into analytics, AI, data science, and I use these nomenclatures because we've evolved with all these acronyms and nomenclatures from last so many years, and that's why there are multiple interpretation. But just to ask you to begin with, did your entry into analytics, AI, data science happen by uh, choice, default, design, or serendipity? What was that?
Uh, Samir, what I would say probably is no leader in technology in this day and age can escape any of these areas. By default, analytics, AI, ML, automation will be part of a leader's portfolio. Uh, Whatever a leader is doing, he will be touching upon these areas. It just so happened that I am fortunate enough to be leading AI/ML practice for eClerx, and I would say it kind of happened with a mix of my interest area, what the organization was looking to do, kind of projects that we were working on. So mix of all those factors, but but pretty much people I talk to, my colleagues within the organization in the industry, everybody is working on analytics, AI, ML in some form and shape.
Tell me also, I mean, and tell us a bit more about your role, Manish. And you've spent almost 10 years with eClerx. Give us also a sense about the organization, how it's evolved, and how it's kind of enabling clients in terms of their AI digital led transformation. So, some bit of your inputs about the role and organization would help.
Sure, Samir. So, eClerx is a KPO organization, Samir, and we invest heavily in technology, and that is what differentiates us from our competition. So, technology plays a very important part in our service delivery to our clients, and this has been happening right from the inception of the organization. It's not as if it's a recent phenomenon. So I've been with the organization for close to 10 years now, and it has always been like that. Only the areas have changed. Earlier, it used to be more simple automations to kind of bring efficiency to the processes and giving that benefit to the client. It slowly evolved to more of analytics along with automation, and and then evolved into artificial intelligence, machine learning, computer vision, and so on. So that is how my journey also has been within the organization. The kind of initiatives we used to work on, say in 2012, 2013, 14, were vastly different from what we are doing now. So same kind of service delivery, but with much more technology intervention now, and at a faster pace with better quality is what we are doing, Samir.
Awesome, awesome. So I'll actually take two facets, Manish. I want to touch first facet. I mean, the other facet would be more about what's happening in the world of analytics, AI, data science, and how clients are embracing the adoption of analytics and AI. But I think to start with, in terms of a professional journey, and you've worked with some very marquee brands, Infosys, Emphasis, G Money, HCL in your formative years, kind of a thing. And this is something which we usually also get a request from a lot of our 3R members. When you land into organizations, what's the kind of a, let's say, prep you do for those roles? What's the kind of initial, let's say, 30 days, 60 days looks like for you? Any kind of, let's say, I would say, secret sauce you would like to share from your side?
Uh, Not really, Samir. I mean, it's more like when you get into an organization, first try to uh, understand the landscape, understand the people, the processes, and try to gauge what the need of the hour is, what your organization, what your leaders are looking for, and then accordingly try to set your own priorities, set your own agenda. If you land on day one and start throwing your weight around and see this is the way I want things to be done, or this is the way, my way or the highway, then that's not really the right way of going about the things. That's what I feel, and that's what has worked for me. I mean, gain an entry into the organization, try to understand what the organization is about, what are the values which an organization follows, what your leaders want, what are the business priorities, what kind of customers you have, what are their priorities, what is the business value they are looking to create, and then accordingly set your own agenda. But sometimes you do not get that time as well. Sometimes you get just thrown into the deep end of the pool, and you have to start swimming from day one as well. But still, it is important to try to understand what the organization is about, what the culture is, and what the values are. So that's what I would recommend. That definitely that mind share should be given to those things, and that thought process should be there, that I need to understand as well before I try to kind of bring in my thought process into the whole mix.
Sure, that's great. One of the, I would say, added facet is, Manish, when we talk about analytics AI aspect in terms of team handling. Now, the team per se is very what I call multi-diversified, lot of pedigree, lot of I would say high credentials, but also a lot of different personalities. Some of them are technologists, some of them are business, techno-commercial kind of folks, some of them are storytellers. In your view, how exactly have you gone ahead and managed the teams, specifically when it comes to new age technologies, analytics, AI?
There are a couple of factors there which come into play, Samir. One, to my understanding, you should have a good grip on the technology on which you are working. So it's not as if that, see, you have spent 20 years in the industry and then everything will come to you automatically. So, for example, when we evolved into delivery of AI/ML kind of products and solutions, it was important for me to understand what the technology is all about. So it was not as if that we are delivering a custom application instead of .NET in Java, which is fine. I mean, you can move from .NET to Java, at least from a managerial perspective, without having firm grip on the technology. But moving from a traditional technology platform, say client server or web technology, to AI/ML kind of platform, it is important that you understand what these new technologies are about. So I invested that effort, did a 1 year kind of a course from Triple IT Bangalore to kind of understand what this whole AI/ML thing is about. Went to the basics, which involved a lot of maths, I mean, which was difficult to do at such a late stage in the career. But it was important to understand what we are talking about. After that, handling the team, dealing with people, dealing with clients become obviously a lot easier, because you understand your stuff, and if you have some kind of command over the technology, then it becomes easier to kind of solution for the client, as well as discuss the nuances with the team. So that is one aspect, in the sense, on the technology side. The second aspect in dealing with people is try and understand what are the different characters in your team.
Hmm.
What are their motivations? What do they excel in? How to best utilize them. So some people might be very good with technology. Some people might be very good with data analysis. Some people will work well within a team. Some people will not probably work that well in a team. Are more of, kind of individual contributors. So you have to figure out how best to utilize each and everybody's skill set, and kind of carve out roles for them, responsibilities for them. So that is, I think, are the two primary things one should do to kind of handle a team which has a mix of various people.
Got it. Got it. Also, taking a, I would say, dimension towards technology, and you've seen different waves of technology happening and going, Manish, over the years. The current wave, what we're talking about, which is AI, ML wave, low code, no code kind of a scenario, platform kind of a, let's say, economy. Now, where do you see enterprises evolving uh, when they start leveraging these new age technologies? Uh, do you see them kind of really creating a new kind of, let's say, experiments or new kind of experiences for the customers, or they are deconstructing the value chains of their businesses? Where do you see these enterprises are going when they start adopting these new age technologies to the core?
So technology is playing a more and more important role in every organization. So probably 25 years ago, IT used to be a small department in most of the organizations, and slowly it has grown in importance. Now this is the era of probably democratization of technology.
Hmm.
So as you mentioned, Samir, era of low code, no code kind of started with probably reporting and analytics, where we had platforms like Tableau and ClickView coming in, which kind of gave the power to non-technologists to do something with their data. And we are going to be seeing more and more of that. That is what I feel, that it's not going to be about a group of people within a big organization sitting and doing something which impacts the whole organization. The whole organization has to be involved in technology, and that is what we are seeing in our various client organizations as well. That more and more business functions are getting involved in technology. Business people are getting involved in technology, either directly or indirectly, because it has become so pervasive that it impacts the outcome and the KPIs of each and every person. That is what I think we are going to see more and more of. That is one. The second is the iterative nature of implementation, which we are seeing
Hmm.
now, is going to be the mantra absolutely going forward. So gone are the days when you would see multi-year kind of ERP implementation projects. Now it is the era of implement fast and fail fast. I mean, if something is not going to work, you better know it fast that it's not going to work for you. So people are experimenting a lot. They are implementing a lot faster, maybe smaller use cases, so that they know whether it is going to work for them. If it's not, then move on to something else. But that is what I am seeing more and more of happening, and will happen a lot more, I think, going forward.
Let me also ask you to elaborate, because you touched upon a very significant point around business function leaders taking center stage now. My assumption over the years, this has been the bastion or the whole, I would say, prerogative of the CIO. I mean, with all due regards, he's been holding the budgets or been responsible for the budgets for many of the business functions, because that's how it was. But today, I think the business functional leaders, whether the CMOs or the supply chain heads or the risk officers, are taking their own calls when it comes to these budgets around exponential or new age technology. Now, specifically over there, Are we saying that the CXO transformational capabilities are evolving, where uh, organizations, and it could be any organization, I mean, they will be more focused around CXO specific, C-suite specific capabilities, or you believe there'll be a different level of capability build up, which will happen when it comes to addressing this C-suite?
So I think what is going to happen and what we are seeing partly is we can't be burdening the CIO organization only
Right.
with delivering the business transformative kind of projects. So CIO organization remains important. It will remain important in future as well. But suppose there are five department heads who are looking to towards technology to kind of transform their functions. As you mentioned, there are CMOs and sales head and supply chain head, the HR head. Everybody is looking towards technology to kind of transform their respective functions. And CIO and its organization are typically are always going to be stretched to deliver these initiatives. So what we are seeing more and more, Samir, is the business heads do not want to wait. I mean, they do not want to go to their internal ITs and then get a timeline of which is running into years and so on. So everybody wants to move fast. Everybody wants to make use of the technology advances quickly before technology becomes obsolete or the competition forges ahead. So more and more of this is going to happen where the CXO level people are going to be leveraging technology in a more direct fashion and will participate in kind of defining that vision for their departments as to how technology can help and of course then seeing that through.
That's well said. Well said. Now, one of the equation over there, Manish, is also what I call an equation which wasn't there if we would have been having this discussion 10 years back. Startups. We see an emergence of disruptive, absolutely agile startups across all genres coming in. Now, having said that, I mean, initially my understanding was that whether it's a pure play BPM firms or service providers in the technology, cloud players, they were skeptical working with the startups. Things have changed today. What do you see from your vantage point in terms of startups and solution and service providers working together? Are there any models which you believe are shaping up? How exactly this whole symbiotic synergy, if at all it needs to be working upon, should be working? Any thoughts over there, please?
So uh, what we are going to see, Samir, is more of a relationship developing between the service providers and the startups, because technology being evolving at such a fast pace will not be possible for all the different organizations to keep pace in each and every area. So the startups definitely bring that value where they are focused on specific niche areas, specifically new technologies, and to make kind of best use of those technology. It is best to work together and try to make perfect use of the new emerging technologies and try to imbibe that in your offerings. So best to kind of work in that relationship, although we are not seeing too much of that now, but I think that is going to happen. One, because there's a plethora of work which is happening in different areas. So if we talk about I mean, even going ahead from AI/ML, we are talking about metaverse and blockchain and NFTs and cryptos, and there are a lot of organizations who are talking about investing in these areas and coming up with use cases to service their customers better. So so what happens is there are two challenges there. One,
Right.
developing the offerings in all these areas for all the service organizations become kind of difficult. from a time perspective. I mean, time is of essence in each of these areas. Second, with great resignation, there is a huge talent crunch, right? So, especially more so in new technology areas. So, everybody fighting over a limited pool of talent is not going to work out very well. So, better to kind of work in a symbiotic relationship, and it's going to be the need of the hour. It's not as if that it's going to be by choice. I mean, I guess people are going to be forced into it.
You mentioned about this great resignation. I have an absolutely true point. I was talking to some of the leaders in the previous sessions. I think it's hit everyone hard. Now, from a workforce perspective, Manishan, I think it's also been an awakening during the pandemic. What we call these words like hybrid kind of a working culture, gig economy, subcontracting, different kind of roles, different kind of, let's say, compensation. How do you see from a talent landscape perspective this, aspect of analytics AI evolving? There is, as you rightly said, there is a lot of set of companies chasing a lot few set of talent, but and that's not sustainable for sure. What is, in your view, this whole piece of talent outlook looks like when it comes to analytics, AI, data science?
What I think, Samir, is happening is kind of globalization of talent. So what we are seeing is kind of convergence of various things. Convergence is in the area of, for example, compensations. So difference between, say, a compensation machine learning guy will get in US versus what he'll get in a startup in India, that gap has shrunk to quite a small extent and quite a large extent. And that gap has become very small. So that is one type of convergence. The second type of convergence I'm seeing is in the culture as well.
Hmm.
So as you mentioned, subcontracting, gig economy, and so on. So this is something kind of which is new for us in India, but is pretty common in US and these other Western geographies. So we are seeing convergence of culture as well. So convergence of compensation, convergence of culture, convergence of work practices. What this is all leading to is kind of globalization of the workforce. And probably 10 years down the line, it won't make a difference whether you are sitting in India or you are sitting in US or sitting in any other part of the world, and which organization or client you are working for. I mean, the focus is going to be finding the best talent for the job at hand. So probably that is where we'll land up in 10 years from now.
Hmm. Do you see in the interim more, I would say, this particular trend to continue, or there'll be some new practices or new kind of models which will evolve?
Uh, that's a little difficult to gauge. Probably what might happen is the pace at which the change has happened over past couple of years, primarily driven by the pandemic. Probably the pace will slow down, but
Hmm.
whether this trend is going anywhere or it's going to reverse, I do not think so. So, but what these changes will bring about in form of new models, I'm not sure. I mean, probably we'll have to wait and watch.
Sure, sure,
Can't really say.
sure.
But 10 years down the line, definitely, it's going to be a global workforce, definitely.
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the thing, Manish, and this is, I would say, specifically from AI analytics projects engagements. None of the two projects engagements look like alike because the data sets are different. The problem areas could be different. In your own professional, I would say, career, how have you dealt with the situations where clients uh, have issues? Clients have challenges, and many of the clients have issues and challenges. But then there is a whole aspect of ensuring that the project gets closed, of course, with due deliverables. But often there is a scenario, scope creeps happens, there is a revised kind of a, let's say, scenario or the hypothesis which gets built. How do you believe this entire aspect is what you've dealt in your professional career? This piece of what I call AI analytics project and engagement management. And
Right.
any illustrations or anecdotes, feel free to quote, please.
Sure. And I think that's a very important aspect of project delivery, actually, Samir, and has been throughout my professional life. So
Hmm.
scope creeps essentially need to be dealt with in a fashion where earlier the better, in the sense that during the traditional projects implementations maybe 15 years ago, what we used to ensure was the requirements understanding, so to say, the business requirement documentation is kind of very lucid, very clear, very detailed, and you walk the clients through what you are going to build, what the system is going to look like, what it is going to do, more importantly, what it is not going to do.
Hmm.
And the better it was sorted out, more clear it was, there were lesser challenges later on, lesser scope creep, and lesser disappointments, because as long as client understood what it is going to get, there were no challenges later on. What AIML and analytics has done is kind of make this even more challenging, because with traditional systems it was very, rule driven, it was very concrete, so to say. With AIML, the deliverables are a little, how do I put it, probably a little less concrete than the traditional software delivery. So what is important with delivery of these projects is the expectation setting even before you get into the business requirement discussion. What the client is going to get, what the client is not going to get, what client can possibly get, what client can possibly not get, because defining the ROIs for traditional projects or even for RPA projects is
Hmm.
kind of relatively easy, because what you're going to say for the client is kind of easier to judge. With AIML projects, it becomes kind of slightly more difficult, but you cannot get away from it altogether as well. I mean, you have to come up with some benefits for the client and some definable benefits as well. But it is important simultaneously to kind of set expectations that this is AIML, this is a fuzzy area, and this is what we expect. So whereas in RPAs or with traditional technologies, you would say that I'll give you say 3x ROI. With AIML, probably you are talking in terms of ranges, in the
Right.
sense that maybe the ROI will range from say 2x to 4x, something of that sort. So that is what is important, Samir. Level setting, expectation setting, right before you start on the journey of implementation of AIML. That is absolutely very important.
Nice, nice. Just some quick rapid fire questions, Manish, and whole attempt is to put you on a spot, but take those, I would say, nuggets of insights from you, what you've built from your experience. Often in a situation where two profiles or two, I would say, professionals you are interviewing, both of them are same or equivalent in terms of professional credentials, maybe the experience, let's say hypothetically. Both of them score also equivalent well in the interview. How do you go about deciding in terms of whom to pick?
Adaptability. So
Okay.
whether a person can adapt to a new situation, new technology, new client, I mean, that absolutely makes a decision for me.
Adaptability, great. AI analytics, 2 years from now, how do you think this will evolve or shape up?
That's a tough one.
Give it a try.
Lot of I guess lot of self-service is going to happen. That is the first thought which comes to mind in terms of what AI is going to do for people in general. So whereas you tend to say reach out to support executives or people in your vendor organizations and so on. AI is going to drive a lot of sales support is what I feel.
How would you? Okay, let me ask this first. Any professional regrets?
Not really. No, no. I'm pretty happy with where I am and what I've achieved.
So the follow up. Any professional aspirations you still harbor?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, professional aspirations are always there. Otherwise, you stop growing. So, professional aspiration is always to be, keeping abreast myself with technology, working with latest technology. I mean, I want to work now and delivering something on metaverse, on NFTs, cryptos. So, absolutely. I mean, that is the professional ambition that it's not become all managerial kind of aspect. It I should keep myself updated with what is happening in technology. So read a lot and uh, that absolutely I want to do till the day I work. That be at least aware of what is happening on the ground.
Great. If you have to give a tip or a guidance to the aspirants who are trying to make career into analytics, AI, data science, could be freshers, could be laterals who are trying to get into this area of the field, what those three or two tips or guidance would be for them?
The first and foremost is try and understand client and business. So the problem which you're trying to solve, try to understand that. Sometimes what I've seen team members, both in my team as well as other areas, is they get so enamored with the technology that they kind of lose sight of what problem they are trying to solve. So never lose sight of the customer's problems, pain areas. As long as you keep that inside, you will find a solution.
What, in your view, I mean, you mentioned about metaverse. How do you see, and this is more hypothetical because we are all punting out here, how do you see the amalgamation of metaverse and AI happening in next few years?
That, of course, is very difficult to kind of predict. One area which comes to mind, Samir, is content creation. So
Hmm.
metaverse is going to require a lot of content creation and not your typical content. I mean, content for meta. So to say, to put it very simplistically, a 3D content essentially. So for example, organizations or universities, schools, everybody is going to create their meta spaces within the metaverse. Will require a lot of content creation to be done for these meta spaces. What I feel is that not all of this is going to be done manually. So AI is going to play an important role in automatic generation of the content which is going to be consumed by metaverse. That I think is going to be one key area of where AI, ML, and Meta will come together.
Wonderful. Manish, pleasure talking to you. I think the range of themes, and you could see that me rattling questions one after another. The whole idea was not to unsettle you, but what I say, elicit a lot of opinions, perspective from a leader like you. Because having said that, if you see the genre of questions we have covered, it's very holistic, very absolutely comprehensive. But really speaking, I think the kind of succinct and the crisp views perspective you got to the table, specifically talking about what folks should be doing when they're trying to enter this field, this whole emergence of kind of, let's say, platform economy, low code, no kind of an environment, and also in terms of how analytics, AI, data science is shaping up, reimagining the businesses was absolutely very riveting because what happens over here actually as a professional, you've seen that kind of a journey over the years, and it becomes very significant for our learners and listeners kind of a thing to understand that look, each and every leader brings their own fresh, unique, and what I call very differentiated perspective to the table. And that cannot happen without spending years into the industry because wisdom only comes with the professional experience. And that's exactly what you demonstrated. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you sharing your perspective and insights, Manish.
Thanks a lot, Samir, for the opportunity. I think it was a pleasure. it was a great interaction and kind of gave me time also to reflect back on the professional journey as well as what the future might be looking like. So thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. This is the end for this episode for AI Makers Unpacked series. This is brought to you by 3AI, India's largest platform for AI analytics leaders, professionals, and aspirants. Thanks, Manish.
Thank you. Thanks, Samir.